That's where I was hearing it. I was getting some feedback. I'm like, where am I hearing the double feedback? We are good. Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? My name is Dave McRae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is episode 213 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! An afternoon show today. That's
right.
The date today is Wednesday, July the 15th, 2026, 1:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 10:08 a.m. Pacific Time. And here we are, Tony Michael, episode 213, A Nightmare on Elm Street is back. And we're going to be talking about it today. How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Yeah. Pretty good. So I'm excited to dive into this. We had some conversations over Instagram. We did with our thoughts, and I think it's going to be an interesting discussion today. And of course, I'm very curious to hear what the fine folks on the interwebs have to say about this as well, which should be really interesting. So I am going to read an article. Let's read the article first, and then we're going to dive into it.
I don't have the article. Do you? I mean, if you want to read it, I'll just listen.
Yeah. No, that's fine. What? You don't?
No.
You don't? I asked you one thing, Tony. One simple thing.
I'm too busy composing our new theme song. So
that's right. I'm looking forward to the new theme song. Yes, Tony is composing the new theme song to Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, and it will have a ballad, a love angle to it, some romance.
It'd be like something like Warrant's Heaven.
Okay. All right.
Some 80s. Yeah. Little 80s power ballad.
Heaven is a Place on Earth, or maybe something from what's her face who just recently passed away. What? She just passed away. The Irish singer. I'm blanking on her name. Anyway, let's read this article. Let's bring this article up. And where is it here? I think it's oh God, where is it? Hang on. Where is it now? Here we go. All right, we're gonna bring this article up. You can probably still hear me. Here we go. It says, let me just read this here. This is from Bloody Disgusting, but it was broken by the Hollywood Reporter, I believe. It's been 16 years since Freddy Krueger was last seen in the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot movie starring Jackie Earle Haley, with complicated rights issues playing a role in the franchise's complete and total silence over the past several years. Today, that silence ends. Well, that was a couple of days ago now, but nonetheless. According to a new report from the Hollywood Reporter this afternoon, Paramount Pictures has closed a deal for the U.S. rights to the original screenplay for A Nightmare on Elm Street. Paramount's genre label, so they have a genre label called Paramount Primal. I think that's sort of their label where they're going to be releasing a lot of like thrillers or horror or things like that. I don't know. Is behind the upcoming franchise reboot. The Hollywood Reporter explains in further detail, the U.S. rights are being licensed from the Craven estate, which includes Craven's widow, Aya LaBunca, and Craven's son, Jonathan Craven. The mother-son duo, will produce the new iteration with Mark Toberoff, the attorney turned producer who specializes in copyright law, J.D. Lifshitz, I think that's how you say his name, and Raphael Margules will executive produce for Paramount Primal. Interesting. Quote, we look forward to bringing now here's worth dissecting. Quote, we look forward to bringing the world of Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street to a new and completely engaged generation of fans. Well, you're going to have to get the Gen Zers engaged, folks. Although I do know one Gen Zer who would be absolutely engaged. Aya LaBunca said in a statement to the Hollywood Reporter, quote, we know that Wes would have been thrilled to see how horror is taking its long overdue place in the cultural canon. I agree with that. We can't wait for all of us to sit together in a dark theater around a campfire today as the next chapter of the Nightmare story unfolds, end quote. Quote, we can't remember a time before we were fans of Wes Craven, said Lifshitz and Margulis. The fact that Aya and Jonathan have entrusted us with this opportunity to help usher a new story into this world The fact that Aya and Jonathan have entrusted us with this opportunity to help us usher in a new story into this world is an honor beyond words. We look forward to working alongside them to bring a terrifying new nightmare to audiences everywhere and to welcome Freddy home. The Elm Street franchise had, of course, previously had a home at New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers, but the Craven estate was able to regain the rights to the original screenplay. THR notes that New Line retains the international rights to Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger's upcoming return is said to be set in the world of A Nightmare on Elm Street based on the original screenplay. End quote. No further details are available at this time. Will Robert Englund be returning one more time? Stay tuned for updates. So there you have it. That is interesting indeed. Tony, you hear that? What do you think?
Well, I think we're all old enough now, mature enough, I would say would be the more proper word to use, to fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
It's very reminiscent of, I kind of vaguely remember the articles that were coming out back in 2017 announcing the David Gordon Green Halloween and how it's getting back to the roots and how we're starting from where the first one left off. And we're all excited for it. And I'm hearing feedback.
You're hearing feedback? Oh.
Yeah, just so you know. Is my volume up on our show? Nope, it is off.
Try again.
We're good. So I just remember that. And then, of course, we saw how that eventually unfolded. It eventually did what every Halloween sequel eventually does. I'm not saying the 2018 film was bad, but its predecessors and what came after that, it's like I said, it's tough to get excited for these films because it sounds great on paper and it sounds good, in theory that yes, you could go back to the original, but can you recapture, what does that mean, right? Are we going, it's set in the world of the original film. So does that mean this is going back to 1980s? You and I have talked about this before, where we have said that these characters, if you want to do them right, you should keep them in their proper eras. Michael, late 70s, early 80s. Freddy, 80s. Jason, 80s.
Right.
Keeping them in the period piece, which is why I have, fingers crossed, some hope for Crystal Lake. It is a period piece. Now, I also know period pieces are not cheap, right? So, I hear that and I think yes, you want to attract the younger audience. But is the younger audience going to want a period piece? Or are they going to want something where Freddy is coming through to them in their smartphones and shit? So, and to me, that would almost turn me away. If I saw the trailer and I could get a sense that there was more modern technology, that it was more set in current times, I don't think I would be rushing out to go see it in the theaters. I would be more I'll get to it when it comes on streaming. Whereas if this was more of a period piece, because ultimately my thing with movies nowadays, because going to the theater isn't cheap.
No, it's not.
If you're going on a date, and you bring in your date's kids or whatever, and my girlfriend's, daughter, she's into horror movies and whatnot. That's going to be an easy $120, $150 evening if you count tickets, popcorn, and everything else, right? So if I'm going to spend money, you need to make me something that I want to go spend my money on. If I feel that the vibes of the trailer, like I'm not feeling it, then it, you know, and there's going to be a lot of people who think the way that I think. Like essentially you've got to give people a reason to want to go see this on the big screen versus to, you know, well, I'll just wait for it to come out on streaming. And I think the way to go about doing it, as we have talked about in a previous video, is if they're true to what they're saying and sticking this in the A Nightmare, not Nightmare, but A Nightmare on Elm Street, then okay. So that means we're in the 80s, right? And what does that mean, right? Are we going to get, I was thinking about this last night, you know, and thinking about, do we need Nancy Thompson? Do we need any of the familiar names that we saw like, why can't it be like, is Elm Street this one little street, or is it a longer street? Are there multiple families on this street? Like, we don't need to we don't need to pigeonhole this to the same characters that we've already seen. We already have an established film, which is the first film in 1984. Okay, great. Now, if you're going to, you know, stay within this universe, well, then let's branch out and add in some new characters.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And, you know, I mean, if you follow me for any length of time, obviously it's no secret that I am a huge fan and a huge proponent of the much darker Freddy Krueger. Now, they have the rights to the original script, right? And so it sounds like anything that they are going to be doing. Now, this could change, okay? Again, it's in development. The film's not coming out, you know, this fall. It's in development. They've made that announcement. Hey, you know, we've secured this. I mean, they've probably secured it some time ago, but now, you know, we're just hearing about it. So it's actively in development. It's actively in development. Not pre-production, but actively in development. Okay. And they have the rights to the to Wes's original script. Well, when you think about that original script, Freddy looked a little different. You know, his sweater is one thing that looked a little different, which is he didn't have any stripes on the sleeves. The stripes on the sleeves didn't come to be until Elm Street 2. That might be, maybe not, but it might be a detail that you see return in this future Elm Street film, because they may not be able to.
More the baggy, like solid red sleeve
sweater. Maybe.
Yeah.
But something that's interesting that is said in the article, which is towards the bottom here, it says that, where does it say here? It says, something of, anyway, I don't know where it is here. It's somewhere, but it says that this is a new Elm Street film set in the world of, you know, Wes Craven's creation. And so that tells me that, or, I mean, again, it's not certain yet. Again, active development, things can change. But it makes me think that maybe this could be, and it makes me think that, okay, so before people start thinking about Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund, hear me out. But it makes me think that maybe this is a potential legacy sequel, in the sense that maybe it is a direct sequel to the original only. I'm not saying they're going to do that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when you say it's set in that world and you will have the rights to that original script, there's only so much you can do beyond that. And so everything in that original film becomes canon. Everything beyond that, not necessarily. Again, there's details that you know, we don't know yet. And certainly things can change as active development moves forward. But certainly that's crossed my mind. I read that and I thought, interesting. But I am it's not impossible. I never say things are impossible, but I don't think the right choice is to bring Robert Englund back. I don't think it is. He's 80, almost 80. He himself has said many times he's too old for it. I mean, nearly 10 years ago, he did a little stint on the Goldbergs and he looked like a, you know, out of shape Freddy, right?
Let me ask you this question. Would you have him do the voice?
No.
No.
No, because it's not necessary.
Okay.
And no. Maybe if you want to do something animated where he can stand or sit in a booth for, you know, an hour or so and record some episodes, fine. But no, it's no. I think I think, but that's something that is, and there are people, you can't have it without Robert Englund. I completely disagree with that 100%. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I think I was able to show that it can be done. Whether you loved my performance or not, whether you liked it or not, whether you thought it was okay or not, whatever. The point is that somebody stepped into the role, and by all accounts, most people thought I did a pretty good job. And so I'm not saying it has to be me. I'm just saying that that's evidence that it can be done. You just have to, hire the right person, and that takes time. It takes time to find the right person. I don't think it should be a known actor. I don't want Bill Skarsgård. I don't want Kevin Bacon. I don't want Jim Carrey. I don't want a name, because you're just going to see the name. And I've said that for years. You're just going to see Jim Carrey as Freddy Krueger. You're just going to see Kevin Bacon as Bill Skarsgård. He's already fucking Pennywise. Enough. No, enough. When Robert Englund was cast as Freddy Krueger in 1984, he was a fucking nobody. Now remember, I don't mean an amateur. When somebody says no-name actor, it doesn't mean amateur. It doesn't mean nobody or an actor with no experience. Robert had a lot of experience. He was on V, he did theater, he was in TV movies, and he had a lot of experience. He was a professional actor, but he wasn't a household name. That's what people mean. That's what I mean. That's what the industry means when they say unknown actor. Unknown doesn't mean amateur with no experience. It just means not a household name. Hasn't hit that thing yet where suddenly you become a household name. Robert was, for all intents and purposes, yes, he was on V, but he wasn't, but for all intents and purposes, he was a nobody. And so when Freddy came on screen, nobody was going, oh, it's the guy from V, or it's the guy that was in that TV movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, it was just Freddy Krueger. And you put Jim Carrey in there or any real known person, I think it's going to be way too distracting. So I think it has to be an unknown actor.
And you know what I would suggest as well too. And I know this is going to sound corny, but there is a lot to be said about Freddy's stature and Freddy's movement. I would look for someone, when I say has dancing skills, I don't mean like hip hop dancing, but someone who knows how to move their body in a way that you know what I mean? Like that gives off more of that presence. If you listen to Robert not saying that Robert had dancing skills, but if you listen to him in the interviews, especially when he's talking about that first movie, like the shoulders down, right? Like, like there's just little postures and poses and subtle things that he added to Freddy's physical part, not just the voice, but the physical part that made it good. We say this about Nick Castle. There's a reason why Nick Castle is the GOAT when it comes to sitting up and walking and move. He added more to without Michael saying a word, he added more to Michael's personality with his body movement. So like that's when you're looking for a Freddy, it's beyond just, a guy who can throw his voice and shit and sound creepy and scary. You need someone who's got the movement as well too, and is bringing Freddy alive through his posture, his poise, his demeanor, and not just sticking the glove out and, with a deep, gargly voice.
I agree 100%. And there's many theater actors and stage actors who have lots of experience, who are comfortable in their skin, comfortable in their bodies, and can certainly do that if that makes the most sense. So I digress there a bit, but I just want to say that by the verbiage, the wording in the article, it sounds like this could be a film that not a remake. It also might be. It's far too early to go to know for sure. It could be a complete remake. But some of the verbiage makes me think that it's possible, again, set in the world, right? Well, a remake is also set in the world, right? I mean, it's also, they're just remaking it set in the world that Wes Craven created, right? That's the nuance, right? And so it could also be a complete remake as well for a new generation, 100%. But it could be some sort of legacy sequel. I don't know. I'm not sold on that yet, though. But you could do a legacy sequel I mean, if you bring back Heather Langenkamp, there's going to be that desire to bring back Robert as Freddy, but I don't think you can have Robert in it. He can play the convenience store clerk or the graveyard guy, whatever. I mean, sure. I mean, certainly he has to be in it. Robert will be in it no matter what, whether he's Freddy or not. Robert Englund, and take this to the bank. You know this. Everybody knows this.
He'll get a cameo of some sort.
He will be in the film 100%. As Freddy, I hope not, and he hopes not. Like, that's the thing people have to understand. Robert doesn't. He said this many times. Guys, I'm 80. You know what I mean? I've got arthritis and back pain and a pot belly. I mean, let's get serious here. And so
now, if he was like a Rick Springfield who's 76, have you ever seen Rick Springfield at 76?
Well, Rick,
Holy fuck! Like, dude is more ripped than I am, and he's 76. Now, if I'm saying if he was in that type of physical shape, where clearly Springfield takes care of himself, then I would say, okay, it's possible between stunt doubles and whatnot. Maybe he could do it, but
it's possible. It's possible. And so, but it's interesting what direction they're going to go in. Now, for you and I, what we were talking about, I'm not against remaking it at all. People say, oh, we already did that in 2010. No, but it was done poorly in 2010. It can also be done great in 2026 or 2028 or, whenever it comes out. I mean, just because it was done not so well, 16 years ago doesn't mean that's just it. It's just every iteration from here on in is just going to be that. No, not at all. You can create stuff that's not good. You can stuff that's good. So I'm not against remaking it.
And look, what's his name? Jackie Earle Haley or something?
Jackie Earle Haley. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Phenomenal actor. I do not blame him for that movie.
He's the least of that's issues.
He was hired to do a job. He was given a script, and he was directed by a director.
He was actually not bad.
No,
he was actually pretty good.
It's just everything surrounding it.
Right. No. Well, one of the issues with that 2010 film, I'll just quickly side step here, is that everybody was already affected by Freddy when the movie began, and so we didn't have an opportunity to see the kids happy and see their downfall. When you watch the original film from 1984, yes, Tina is already having nightmare. Well, I guess they all kind of are, but we see them in happier times, and then there's the Tina death, and then we see that downfall. Whereas Rooney Mara, who's a great actress and very easy on the eyes, but she was already like emo. We're introduced to her already kind of just gone, you know what I mean? And so it was hard to connect with her emotionally. She does have a girl next door kind of vibe to her, but it was hard to connect with her because she didn't act like a girl next door. She was very emo and introverted and just kind of already there. And so that was not the sole issue, but for me, part of the issue was connecting with the new Nancy, and not being able to do it as well as you could with Heather Langenkamp. And so if you were to remake it, I want to see the downfall. I want to be introduced to these people. Maybe they're not having dreams yet, you know what I mean? Or maybe they've had one or two, but it's not. And I want to see that downfall trajectory into madness, into this nightmare territory. Something you said as well, which I absolutely agree with, is that, we've said this many times. I
have such a dark, twisted soul.
It's true, but I've said it many times. Dark. This is a Nightmare on Elm Street. The thing that worries me, although they do have the rights to the first script, Freddy, I wouldn't say Freddy is funny in the first film. I would say that he has a few little quips, hey, Tina, watch this, there's a few little quippy things, but overall, he's very dark. Not as dark as 2, of course, but he's very dark in that first film. The thing is that Freddy Krueger, his... welcome to prime time, bitch, and no screaming while the boss is in motion. I mean, that Freddy is so embedded into the zeitgeist that I worry that's the direction they're going to want to go, and because that's what so many fans are familiar with and used to, and that's not what I hope they do. I think this should be very dark, ominous. Play with his quippy stuff, like how I was in Dylan's New Nightmare, what's up, Doc, right? You can have some funny little things, but overall there is a sinister, ominous. This is a nightmare on Elm Street. It's not a fluffy dream on Elm Street. This should be terrifying. This should be, I mean, a terrifying return. And I don't mean void of joy. When I say joy, I don't mean like it has to be fun. I get it. Like the audience has to be having fun with the movie. So it can't be so dark that it's just so bleak and depressing, but it can't be, Freddy's Dead or, or Elm Street 5 or 4 even, even 3, I mean 3, so there has to be something there, but dark, very, 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 very dark. Freddy has to be scary, very scary. And I'll let you talk about your idea for the opening.
Oh, 100%. I think they won't, but I think if you really want to get people to like sit back in their seats and just like, oh shit, I would have Freddy kill a child, like a 12-year-old boy or girl, and I would make the dream sequence rival what we saw with Tina. Like we're opening up. It's in the dream. It's this young kid, and this kid gets filleted. I mean, screaming for boy or girl, screaming mommy, and mommy can't come to save you. Right. Yeah. And whatnot. Like he says something like that, mommy's not going to save you or something like that. Yeah. And we're watching this because essentially that's what Freddy was, right? He went after kids and he was a child killer. We're supposed to.
Well, he was worse than that, but yeah.
Right. But I don't think they would go there. So that's why
they did in the 2010 film, surprisingly.
I know.
Today, but I don't think they're going to do it today.
I think they would do that today. But you could kill a kid. Michael killed the kid. He snapped his neck in the truck. Right.
That's right. So, in 2018, I forgot about that. That's right.
So we're seeing that they're pushing the boundaries a little bit. And I'm thinking like, if you open up with the death, I mean violent death of a 12-year-old boy or girl, and that's the tone of the movie, that this is not going to be like where we left off with Freddy. Like this is going to be more dark. This is going to be more in your face. And to bring up what you said, and you can piggyback off me here in a second, is you cast people who are 16, 17 years old and maybe have like another 13, 14-year-old in there that also gets killed as well too. So you're really keeping that youthful look, because we were supposed to believe that Amanda Wise and Heather Langenkamp and Johnny Depp were like 15, 16, 17 years old.
It says in the original film, Tina is clocked at 15.
Right. So you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
and I get it. I mean, it's,
right. In the 80s, in the 80s and 90s, look, they were doing that. They were casting young adults who were in their early 20s to play teenagers. I get that. Yeah. But I think times are different. And I think you can, keep it more closer to the age group. Again, do you go with a bunch of unknown actors? I'm not against the idea of bringing Nancy back and Heather back. I'm not like, yes, that would be exciting. Yes, but I kind of lean into more of like, okay, if we're going to keep this in the same universe, you could go either way. You can make it a period piece and it's in the 1980s still, or if you set it today and it's A Nightmare on Elm Street 2026, 2027, okay, fine. I'm not really on board with the modern times, but what I would do, clean slate, new cast, new characters.
Just remake it. It's a modern retelling.
If you want to keep the original as a part of it, you can share the backstory that people are aware of some type of event that happened on Elm Street, 40 years ago?
42 years ago now.
Yeah. So, you can have it like that, where it's like the people on the street know about something that happened, but it's been quiet. Freddy's been dormant, and then boom, you have him come back. So you're not linked. Like, you're not recasting someone to play Nancy or Glenn or Tina or, right. You know what I mean? This is a fresh new crop of kids that have moved on to Elm Street. People have moved past, Freddy at this point. And
so you're talking about a legacy sequel for all intents and purposes,
based on
that acknowledges it lives and breathes in the same universe. But it's not like maybe there's a mention of Nancy in an article or something like that. I'm just
saying it's an idea that they can do that. People are aware that shit happened years ago, but a lot of people don't buy into that, right? If you're going to go with modern times, then you have to take the very approach of people's attitudes today, where people are very cynical. Like,
Yes.
I think, what them damn bullshit. Nobody
Well,
even get you.
horror is, and what people forget too, you're bang on, because what people forget is horror, generally speaking, is often a reflection of the era it's released.
I mean, that's
You know what I
Toby
mean?
Hooper right there for Chainsaw.
For sure. And so it has a lot to say, whether it's subconsciously or consciously or subliminally or through the cinematic language. I mean, there's a lot. It can be a reflection and a mirror up to society. It might not feel that way when you're watching it, because of course not. It's a guy with a glove and it's, of course, there's that surface level thing that you can watch it as. Of course, that's there because that's what gets you into the theater. I mean, if everything was so on the nose and social commentary and all this kind of stuff, it was, if it was marketed that way, it's a harder sell. But under the layers, underneath it all, it can be a mirror to society, how we're feeling, our fears, our hopes, our dreams, things we're afraid of. And so maybe that's something that they do now. And look, it says even in the article, I mean, they say, the U.S. writes, blah, blah, we look forward to bringing the world of Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street to a new and completely engaged generation of fans.
Which says to me it's going to be set today.
It could very well be. It could very well be. Now, to your point, it could be still set in the same universe as, because there's two ways to read that, right? You can read it as, where does it say here? We look forward to bringing the fans. We're thrilled at taking over canon. We can't wait for us to see, right. We can't remember a time before the fact that we look forward to working alongside them to bring a terrifying new nightmare audiences everywhere. Freddy's home. I don't know where it is now. God, I can't find it. But again, talking about how it's using Wes's original script. So again, because it's early development. I reiterate this for Elm Street fans out there, movie fans out there. It can mean that it's going to be a legacy sequel. It can mean that they're using, we're going to use Wes's script. It can mean that, or it just simply means this is just the mythology and the material we have the rights to use. And so we're going to use Wes Craven's original script as the basis for our remake, is basically what it could also mean.
Here's my question for you. So let's say they don't go down the road of my idea of keeping it as a legacy sequel set today. If they're going off of the original script and clean slate, fresh start, I'm against the idea of recasting a Nancy and Tina, but let's just say they do that for the third time now.
That would be a complete remake.
Right.
Like, that would be that's different.
So, but let's just go with new faces, new names. Do you set it in 1980s or do you set it today?
No, I think they would set it today.
Not legacy sequel. Now this is clean slate, fresh start,
slate remake.
Yeah, I think new names, new faces. Do you go 80s or do you do today?
I think the safe option is today. I know 80s is hot. I mean, it's not. I just think wanting to appeal to the new generation today, I have a feeling they'd want to do today. It's a modern retelling of that story, and that doesn't mean it can't be great. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. Even with smartphones and self-driving cars and Teslas, I mean, it doesn't mean it can't be great. But you can get a sense of the world they live, but it can't become the world. That's the thing. Elm Street can't be gimmicky. You can set it in today's world, right? So we see the high school kids, they're walking home and they get a text from their friend on their smartphone. That instantly tells us, okay, it's this world, it's smartphone world, it's this generation, but there's nothing gimmicky. There aren't gimmicky, shticky plot devices like the smartphone suddenly becomes a MacGuffin and it's somehow we're dreaming through the smartphone, you know what I mean? Or AI, we're having dreams and AI is, that's because
you're getting into campy bullshit.
Right. But if you want to set it in today's world and you show us these things, like maybe the teacher in one of the classes is doing a lecture on AI or something, right? And maybe there's some sort of subliminal thing in there about consciousness and dreams, or something like that. But AI doesn't become any sort of fodder or fuel or MacGuffin or anything like that. It's just it's window dressing to just let you know, oh yeah, it's modern times. It's 2028, whatever it is. And just window dressing to let you know the era you're in. You can absolutely do that. But dreams are dreams. And we all go to bed at night and we all dream, and we don't need technology to do it. All we have is our subconscious and our brains and sleeping. And that is the core. That is the crux. That is the brass tacks. So it doesn't matter what fucking era you're doing it in, whether it's 1756, 1984, or 2028. We all go to bed.
1756,
but it's true. We all go to bed. But that's it. That's the crux, right? That's the brass tacks of it.
Excuse me, good sir. I am going to kill you now.
No, yeah. A very posh, yeah. But that's the brass tacks of it, right? And so that should be where the focus is, dreams. And me personally, I don't want to see lavish, wild, crazy set pieces for dreams. Yeah. It's unnecessary. Dreams can be surreal. I don't mind surrealism. I don't mind that, but I'm talking like crazy set pieces, or it's too big. It's too big. Make this film feel small. Make this film feel independent. Make it feel like it's not being distributed, released, and produced by a big studio. It's Paramount Primal, right? So make it feel, maybe Primal wants to rival A24 and Neon. Okay. Let's make it smaller. You can set it today. We see smartphones. We hear about AI. We see a Tesla. Fine. That's window dressing. But the brass tacks of it is we all go to bed at night. We don't need technology for it. It's just us, our subconscious, and our brains. And that is where it's still got to be. It's got to be frightening there, and make it smaller. And I'm with you. Sorry, I just say this one last thing. I'm with you. I wouldn't be against casting actual age 16, 17 actors in the role. It's okay if you're older, but that might be interesting too. Might bring a youthful naivety and vulnerability to it.
So not that I expect anyone from Paramount or the directors to watch our video. In case if you do, here is a brilliant idea of
I'm available, by the way, in case they do. Go ahead.
How to pull this off. No, I mean, really, if you take these two movies and hybrid them and combine them together, you've got yourself a modern day Elm Street. You take It Follows, the concept of It Follows. Look at what they did.
Yeah.
It's set in modern times because you do see some smart devices. You see modern refrigerators, because I just watched it recently again.
Yeah.
So you do know that it's set in modern times. The kids are driving vintage vehicles, right? But they don't let the technology of the modern times interrupt the movie. Now that's kind of your core base of what the film aesthetically looks like.
You just froze. You might want to click. Get you back.
Hold on. Give me a second.
No problem. We can still hear you, but it's just that little.
Yeah. I just got to do the little thing. Doom and doom.
You're back.
Okay. So as I was saying, the film is done stylistically and aesthetically like It Follows, right? It Follows is set in a modern time. We know that because we see modern technology in there.
That's right.
But it's not intruding into the movie, and you have a bit of kind of aesthetic vintage vibes as well too between the cars and the TVs. The dream sequences, how they can pull this off is they take the aesthetic tone of It Follows and the dream sequences of Black Phone 2 and hybrid those together. And you do kind of that gritty, because I mentioned this before in a stream with you, that I loved the dream sequences that they did in Black Phone 2. And I felt like, damn, they could do this in A Nightmare on Elm Street. And that would be really fucking cool, because I don't think it was film. I think it was film filtered. But it gave it that like 16 millimeter vibe and look sequence that they were having in Black Phone 2.
Right.
So I think if you take, did I pause again?
You did. Yes.
I did.
I don't know what's going on
here.
What's going on? Or you're just a hell of a ventriloquist.
I know, right?
Like seriously, we can hear you when you pause. So
okay.
Just I don't know why it keeps doing that. Maybe have that on speed dial and ready.
Yeah, I have it now on speed dial just in case if it doesn't. Yeah. So yeah, I just think if you do that, if you take what It Follows did and you follow that blueprint for A Nightmare on Elm Street, where, like you said, you can set it in modern times. We see that it is current, but you don't let the modern day of technology kind of it's almost just.
It's window dressing, like I said.
Yeah, exactly. Like in It Follows, it's window dressing. It's subtly there in the background. It's not present in the foreground.
It doesn't drive the narrative.
It does not drive the narrative at all. And that's why I love that movie. I think it's a great film.
It's fantastic. I'm looking forward to a sequel.
Have you seen Black Phone 2?
I have not yet.
Okay, so when you do get a chance, I think you'll understand why the hybrid of the two, that if you take the tonality and the aesthetic look of It Follows, and then you take the dream sequences. Now, I'm not saying you have to do every dream sequence like Black Phone 2 did, but you could probably do a couple, like the opening, like what I talked about with the little kid getting killed. Maybe that does look like it's 16 millimeter film, and it's gritty, and it's got that, like, you know, you see the grain on the film and it's just very just dark, right? That could look cool. Now, I'm not saying you need to do that for everyone, but you could do a couple of dream sequences like that and it would look really cool. But I agree with you. I think you can do it modern day as long as you keep the modern technology. Like you said, it's window dressing. It's there, but we're not really distracted by it.
No, exactly. Yeah, I've just always been the scary Freddy, and not just scary Freddy, but the film is terrifying. It's a Nightmare on Elm Street, and again, it doesn't mean it's void of joy. And when I say joy, I don't mean, you know, like a comedy, but it's a fun movie to watch. Scary. The most terrifying, The Exorcist is a fun movie to watch. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of the most scariest films of all time are fun to watch because of how well they craft the scares and craft the lighting and craft the shots and craft the tension and craft the suspense and craft the scenes. And so that's what I mean, right? Like, I don't mean it needs to be bleak and depressing and boring and slow and what the hell's going on, but it has to be scary. I mean, it can't be Freddy's dead, and not that you know, it's got to be frightening. You know, it's got to be, and you got one. I mean, it's been 16 years, and this is your chance. This is your shot. You blow this, you blow it.
Pretty much, because you're not gonna. If you blow it this time, and if you're thinking sequels from this, you're going to be hard to get people to go see a sequel.
And they know this. It has to be done well. It's got to be done right, and take your time. You know, it does. Don't rush through it. It's small. Make it small. Make it feel intimate. Make it feel. Dreams are intimate. Dreams are our fears, our worries, our dreams. No pun intended. But you know, our hopes. They can be, you know, personal. They can be sexual. They can be scary. They can be weird and like, what the heck's going on? And they're so vulnerable. They're so personal. Wes Craven knew that. He knew that. And Freddy has the ability to invade your most private thoughts, your most private, you know, areas of your life, which is why Elm Street 2 and the Jesse thing is really creepy, right? I mean, Freddy knows, I think there might be like the whole undertone of the homosexuality and all that, and his ability to know your secrets, is that alone. Forget the dream sequence or, you know, the claws. Somebody knowing your secrets is terrifying.
Sure.
And there's nothing you can fucking do about it.
Nope.
And he's going to exploit your ass every night. It is terrifying. And that's why I think the film needs to, again, focus on the brass tacks of that, the psychology of that. And just, it's terrifying. And again, not void of joy. You know, the dreams are fun and the kills are great and the blood is there and the gore is fine. Yeah, of course. We can all, you know, be firing on all cylinders, but it's got to have that. I want to feel that intimacy with a remake. I don't want to feel big and brash and like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to be a clown or some silly carnival barker. You know, I want to feel, and don't show him too much. You know, keep him in shadows. You know, keep him scary. Keep him terrifying. And so, yeah, and the kids thing, killing kids. Well, you know me. I mean, I'm all about getting rid of kids. No, but I mean, like in horror movies, that would be
good.
Yeah, because
you know, there's something else too. I think that's really important. That, you know, again, I think another reason why It Follows landed with a lot of people is when you look at the soundscape and design that Disaster Piece did in that movie. I went back recently and I listened to my vinyl that Charles Bernstein did with A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I listened to, one, to get ideas for our theme song, two, for a new YouTube channel that I'm working on as well too. And I'm listening to what he did, because when you listen to it from start to finish, and especially on good speakers, there's all these different like subtle sound designs that Charles, now I'm talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street, and even Disaster Piece did this with It Follows, that he added in that, we seem to get away from as you kind of watch the series progress. That is just that sound design, that element, that the theme and the soundscapes is just as important to everything that we have talked about. As far as the type of Freddy we want, the characters that we want, you need that element in this movie. Right.
No, it's a very good point. And like we said, one chance, and it doesn't. And again, I say this, it doesn't have to blow us away. It doesn't have to be the greatest thing of all time. It doesn't have to be the greatest Elm Street movie since, for a lot of people it would be 3, but, for us it might, maybe, 1 and 2. It doesn't have to, reinvent the wheel. It just has to deliver a good movie. And you walk out of the theater and you think, that actually was pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, that actually was good. You know, like if you can walk out of the theater going, I'd give that a 7.5 out of 10. Now, for some young fans out there, you might be thinking 7.5, that's dog shit, because you grew up in a world where everything's 1 and a 10. But a 7.5 out of 10 is a fucking, that's a fantastic. If the new Elm Street film gets a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, that's unbelievable. Okay. That's amazing. And so, again, I only say this to temper expectations. So not like, it doesn't have to change your life. You just have to walk away and go, it's actually pretty good. The guy playing Freddy was really good. The cast was really good. It was scary. I liked it. Like that was actually pretty good. I'd love to see another one. Yeah. Then they've got you. Right. But if it ends up being, a 3 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10 across the board, then we're in problematic territory.
Yeah. And that happens if you get into, like, for example, we were just talking about sound design and the music, right? If they start introducing a lot of like modern hip hop, lo-fi, music and stuff like that. Look, I get it. That's Gen Z. That's what they love. That's the music they like. I'm not saying there's anything, but there's a time and a place for it. And like when you think of movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street, when you think of movies like Halloween, I did forget this, and someone did bring it up in the comments section. Yes, Halloween, the original, has one song, Don't Fear the Reaper, but you hear one time playing in the car as almost like background music.
But it's also not, it's not heavy metal screaming.
No, and it's not in your face. It's background radio music.
It is, but the style of song that it is wildly appropriate for the movie. Right. The tone, the melody, the pace of it, the singing, the voice that Blue Oyster Cult, has, and what they're talking. Do not fear the Reaper.
Do not fear the Reaper.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So
it's apropos to what's coming.
100%. And again, the style of the song. If it was, don't fear the Reaper, that's different. Yeah. That's a completely different thing. You know what I mean? So again, it's not that songs are played in films. It's, does this match the tone, potentially the message, and any foreshadowing maybe, and in some sort of, subliminal message, perhaps, but does it match the tone and the feel of the film and the scene, and does it work and all that kind of stuff? And so it's not that songs are in it. It's that, I hate when horror movies end on a real sort of ambiguous note and, a reflective note, and they clearly want you to sit with what this could all mean, and then all of a sudden it's like, what do you, that fucking just takes me out of it. Like, what are you doing?
I know.
You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I agree. I agree. You know, you can have a song. Of course, you can have songs. There's many songs you could have in. I mean, look, there's songs in the house on Port Robinson Road. And I don't know if I'll have the rights to use them. It all depends how much it costs. But when I was writing certain scenes, there was a couple of songs that made sense to me. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not, again, it's not, so you can't have a song in it. It's just got to feel, is this appropriate? Does it work? Because sometimes not all the time. Right.
That's
and
true.
So, but I mean, I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to, but I agree with you though, whatever they do, the opening now Tina's death in the original Elm Street from '84 was not the opening dream sequence, but her death I wouldn't be opposed to this new Elm Street film beginning with an opening dream sequence where there's a death. And it's so strange and so weird. And if it is a legacy sequel set in the same universe, but not with the same characters, you could have somebody that, again, this is classic. It's just, guys, there's only so many ways you can tell these stories, and this is one of them. But maybe there's somebody that lived on Elm Street 40 years ago, or who knew Nancy Thompson or her dad, or I don't know, and they, I mean, it could be Nancy, so it could be Heather as well. But I just mean that maybe it's something they haven't seen in 40 years, So again, it would be a direct sequel to the original only. But even if you don't do that, something about the opening dream sequence is terrifying. It's wild. It's insane. It lets you know what you're in for. It lets you know what you're in for with this film, and it shocks you. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be the bloodiest, doesn't have to be the goriest, but it just psychologically shocks you like, fuck, whoa. You know what I mean? And I think, as we talked about, maybe even rivaling Tina's death in the original.
Yes.
Because you and I both agree that Tina's death in the original Elm Street is the greatest slasher kill of all time.
I mean, if we're talking just horror,
right.
the two on screen.
Oh, you froze. It's that damn Burns.
Why is this doing this today? This makes absolutely no sense. It's so weird.
Yeah.
We're back.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, Tina's death, for hands down, is the greatest horror kill. Up there with Chrissy from Jaws. As far as scenes that just are gut wrenching and are like, fuck, this is hard to watch.
Because it's not just the death. Like I say to people, it's not the death. It's the entire sequence. It's the waking up in the middle of the night, going to the window, Tina, all that, Tina, and just it's the whole, that's part of her death. Like, that's what we say when we say it's not just the actual physical slicing in on the ceiling. That's the climax of the whole thing, but it's everything. This is God. The alleyway. The arms. It's everything. It's. I've said it many times. It's the greatest. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, very similar to Jaws. You don't see Freddy killing Tina in that sequence.
Right.
You don't see him.
Right. Something is
there, but you don't physically, and that makes it 10 times scarier. You don't see him actually. In fact, I don't think you see Freddy impale anybody with the glove in the first film.
You don't, because
it's only in the second film that you see that for the first time.
You astutely pointed out, I think we might have been doing a watch along of Elm Street 2. And you appropriately pointed out that the first time we actually see his body, like the glove attached to his body, make contact with another person, is when he does it to the gym teacher in the shower across the back. And that's not even Robert Englund. And so,
robot.
Yeah. And so that's interesting. That's interesting, because you're right. All the deaths we see in the original, you're actually not seeing Freddy physically touch. I mean, you see the slice on Tina's stomach, and the blood pool everywhere, but you don't actually see him.
That is true. Now I know you like the dark version of Freddy in the second film.
I do.
If they could do a hybrid of what we got in the first film and in the second film, kind of a blend of those two versions of Freddy, you got yourself a good Freddy.
I think so. Yeah, with the right actor. That's the right approach to the character. And then you get the right actor to bring that to life. And I agree with you. Yeah.
So there was something else we talked about too. We talked about the kid's death scene. We talked about, what else did we talk about the other day?
You know who would still make a great Nancy Thompson in a complete remake?
Oh, now the chick from Cobra Kai?
The chick from Cobra Kai. Now, she is older.
We did say that.
I think she's actually older than Heather Langenkamp was in the original. But she has that Nancy Thompson, what's her name there? Mauser or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Cobra Kai. She is,
but she is a little older now. She's got to be in her mid to late 20s easily.
Yeah, she's Mary Mauser. Yeah, she's 30. She's 30 now. So yeah, a little too old. But she would have if this was 10 years ago. She would have, because she has that.
She has that look. So if you're looking for, I mean.
But that's a good basis. That's somebody you tell a casting director, Mary Mauser type, right? And you go look.
And I'm torn on the idea, like, do we want another Nancy, right? We've gotten it twice, right? We got it in
if it's a remake, I mean.
And yes, if it's a remake, and it's like, but do we want that, right? You know what I mean? Like how many Nancy characters or how many Nancy Thompsons do we need? That's why I'm like, we could just start fresh, man. It doesn't have to be the same characters, you know what I mean? Like,
so it's not just a remake; it's a reimagining.
It's a reimagining. It's a retelling. Yeah. If you're going to set it in modern day, fine. Then but you're taking the premise of what Wes Craven had in the universe that he set up of a Nightmare on Elm Street and bringing it in. Then just give us some fresh faces. You know what I mean? Yeah. Look, I get it. So, like, for example, I'm trying to think who would have been the hook? So, like, for example, I know when Halloween was released, right, you had Donald Pleasance. He was the hook. Mm-hmm. He was the name that, might get people to come and watch the film. Because, Jamie Lee was an unknown. The other girls were relatively unknown. Nightmare on Elm Street, same thing. Like, I mean, Robert Englund.
Why don't you just cast Jenna Ortega? She's in everything.
Like, I like her, but I mean, she's just like
everywhere. A Nightmare on Elm Street starring Jenna Ortega, Millie Bobby Brown.
I know. No. Unfortunately for Millie Bobby Brown, I think 11 is just going to go with her everywhere. I just think that's just, I mean, that's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because as an actress, I'm sure she wants to break free from that. But when you play such an iconic, and look, 11 was written well and she played it well. And, it was, especially in the beginning, run of the series.
But if you could find kids, because remember, they were kids. They were kids when that show first began. No, not that. No. I mean, when the show first began.
Oh, yeah,
when the show first began, they were literally 12 and 13 years old. And they were terrific actors. Terrific actors like Dakota Fanning level child actors,
yes,
Elijah Wood level child actors. They were. I mean, if you grew up in the 90s, Elijah Wood was phenomenal. I mean, he was well beyond his years in, maturity. Dakota Fanning in the early 2000s was like, who is this? Who is this little adult? She was amazing. And the kids in Stranger Things had that thing about them. Now, I don't think you should go that young necessarily, but if you can find that level of talent in terms of acting and performance and maturity and self-awareness and all that, and you deliver kids like that in an Elm Street movie, I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, because really, with Stranger Things, the only name was Winona Ryder, right? I kind of knew who David Harbour was, but like not really. And trying to think who else in season 1 that I would have known. I didn't know any of the kids, and even the teenagers, right? Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy and Barb. I didn't know any of them. Really, it was Winona Ryder, who was probably the only one that I knew going into that show.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
Oh yeah, no, and she was the hook for that first season.
yeah.
She was the the one that
Am I frozen again?
and then of course, the kids became stars themselves but yeah, no, she was the hook that first season. I think look, the hook should not be Freddy. The hook should not be Freddy Krueger. Please, Paramount, do not cast Bill Skarsgård. Do not cast Kevin Bacon. Do not cast Jim Carrey. Do not cast William Dafoe. Do not cast fucking Mike Tyson, whoever. I don't know. Do not cast. That would be, although that would be an amazing Freddy Krueger. I gotta say, but just cast somebody. Do your due diligence.
Matthew Modine. Yeah, he was in Stranger Things.
Well, he was, but he wasn't the hook. He wasn't the hook. People weren't tuning in for Matthew Modine. You know what I mean? People knew who he was, but it was.
And even like the first The Nightmare on Elm Street, Johnny Depp was an unknown. I mean, now we know him.
Johnny Depp was nobody.
Exactly. That was his first film. We didn't know who this dude was.
Not at all.
And then he went on to do 21 Jump Street afterwards and whatnot.
Yeah.
His film career really didn't start to kind of like build momentum until like the 90s.
That's right.
So he was pretty much almost an unknown. So,
yes.
I mean, it's hard to think that, right? Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow and whatnot. But, I mean, so yeah, you can definitely do, like Dave said, you guys they can do unknowns if done right. You don't need a name to get us into the theaters. You just need to make a good movie.
You need to make a good movie and cast well. That's what great casting directors will go and will do their due diligence, take their time, and find the right actors, the right talent.
Talent. That's the key word. Don't cast just the cast. Cast the talent.
Yeah, because if you want to have a hook, if you want to have a name in the show, then it's a peripheral name. It's the chief in the town. It's what they did with Winota. It's one of the parents of the kids or something like that, right? You know what I mean? Maybe you do that. Maybe but don't, please, Fred. Don't, these people. Who are these people? And I find it so funny. Nobody can play Robert Englund, but I really wish they'd make another, Freddy Krueger or nobody but Robert. But you want another Elm Street movie? Yes. Well, eventually, Robert's not going to be able to play him, and so
he may not even be here anymore. You know what I mean? Like he's getting to ages where we don't know how much longer life is, going to be with this dude. And like,
that's true.
Yeah, just like
it's true. You can't have your cake and eat it too, and so. But unknown. And again, I repeat, unknown actor does not mean amateur with no experience. It just means somebody who is not a household name.
And now here's my other question.
Hang on. Robert Englund, again, just for people who are just tuning in, Robert Englund was an unknown actor in 1984. Harrison Ford was an unknown actor before he did Star Wars, but yet he did American Graffiti and Force 10 from Navarone, and he was in Apocalypse Now, and the Frisco Kid, and that might have been after Star Wars. Maybe before, but he was unknown, right? And so that's all that means. Just so people, because I see people out there, no, you can't have an unknown actor. You need somebody with experience. It's like unknown actors have experience. There are more. Let's just put it this way: the world is full of more unknown actors than known household name actors. Okay, so that's all that means. Just somebody who's not a household name does not mean amateur or somebody who's not good or no experience. And the reason to cast an unknown is so you can get lost in the character Freddy. You cast William Dafoe or Jim Carrey or Kevin Bacon as Freddy, all you're gonna fucking see is Kevin Bacon's boner, And so I just so that's all. Sorry, go ahead. You're gonna say.
I was gonna say this is another idea that they could do is if let's just say it's a reimagining, they're taking the script of A Nightmare on Elm Street, set today, new actors, new names, new characters, all this stuff. What if the entire first act of the film is Freddy's alive?
Right.
And you see him killing, and then you have the whole fire, and then Act 2 and 3. Act 2 is the dream sequences, and 3 is the dream sequences in the final act.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, if it's
if you want to change it up, right, and not just recycle and do the exact same thing, we could see the first act being and give him some significant significant kills in the opening, you know, and in the first act leading up to his death. What I don't want to see is what they did in the remake, in the 2010 remake, where they kind of show us the whole backstory of what happened, and you see them, you know, chasing him into the boiler room and all that stuff, like, because it essentially becomes a footnote. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather just, like, if we're gonna talk about what Freddy did when he was alive before he died, or Fred, right? If they're going back to OG, his name is Fred Krueger. His name isn't Freddy.
That is true.
So that is something else to remember. We have to call it.
The lawyer got fat.
So exactly. So we have to call him Fred Krueger.
Yeah.
And
the judge got famous. Sorry.
If you're gonna tell any of the backstory, well, then just make it a part of the movie. Maybe make it the first act.
Right.
You know, like, don't just let it be a because we know what the footnote is. Yeah. I would rather you flush it out and play it out and show us in real time, and then give us the iconic Freddy in Act 2.
Right. I feel that I like that idea. I feel that maybe that's better for a series, perhaps. So you have that more time to
flesh it out.
More room, to flesh it out and kind of build on that. But I mean, it's not impossible to do. I will say too that I think it is, like we touched on earlier, just to reiterate, there are some Elm Street fans out there that get very defensive over this, and I understand why. But it is true nonetheless. The original idea for Freddy Krueger was that he was a child P-word. P-word. Not necessarily just a child killer. That was the original intention. Yes, it was the original intention, and Wes Craven softened it because of some news in and around that time that it felt a little inappropriate, and also too, in hindsight, looking back, it was probably the best thing to do because obviously we don't know how at that time you didn't know how successful the original film was going to be, but let's hypothetically say he went with it. Let's hypothetically say he went with it like the 2010 film did. They just kind of leaned into it. No, he's a child P-word, and well, now it's a hugely successful film. They're doing sequels, and it was kids. It was us kids that were the fans of those movies. Yep. How the hell do you market a child P character to a bunch of kids for Halloween? You can't. I mean, it's really difficult to do that. But for Freddy fans out there who think, no, that's not true, that was just rumors. No, it was true. That was the original intention behind it, and he softened it. And also, if you watch Elm Street 5, there's an article, there's an image, and I believe it's Elm Street 5, even though it's a terrible film, it's canon, where it says child mature. Mature.
The M word.
The M word. They actually say it in the article. So even some of the sequels kind of nodded to, because I've always said this. I think it's the elephant in the room. We all know it. We just don't say it because it is a little strange to be obsessed with children and a child killer, but nothing more. I think if you're kidnapping children and taking them to your boiler room, you're probably not just killing them, as awkward as that might be. And so, but they just didn't lean into that. They didn't lean into it. And I think it's the right thing to do. So I think moving forward, I think continuing to soften that, continuing to just focus on the fact that he's just getting revenge on the parents or whatever. Okay, fine. Whatever the case is, however they try to spin this new film and whatever the mythology and legacy is, at that point, I think it is the right thing to do, especially today in 2026. 100% the right thing to do. Absolutely. No question. 100%. But just so Elm Street fans know, it wasn't a rumor. It is true that was the original intention, but Craven softened it, and so it was the right thing to do. Dave, Tim Robinson should be the next Freddy. 100% not. No. Too tall. He's too tall, but he's known. He's an Academy Award winner. No. Stop it. I feel like Dr. Chala. Stop it. Anyway, do you want to go over to the chat and see what people are saying about this? Because
all I can picture is Tim Robbins on the mound, and what does he know about being Freddy? I know about being, like, you remember when he was talking to himself in Bull Durham?
Yes.
What does he know about being Freddy? I can be Freddy.
It's true. It's true.
I can bring the heat.
He can bring the heat. He can bring the boiler room. He can bring the boiler room. Let me get these super chats and member chats that came in. Thank you very much, by the way, everybody who sent that in. If you want to send in your member chats or super chats now, you can. Brandon Collins, one of our great moderators, Brandon Collins sends in a member chat and says, just want to say thank you, Dave, for all the wildfire smoke your country is blowing over here that's making the sky look like clam chowder. Yes, I outside right now, everything looks yellow. There's a yellow haze to the air because there are wildfires. Apparently, I just got a text. They are on the northern shores of Lake Superior. So it is not in the Toronto area, but it's in northern Ontario. But of course, it is blowing all the way down into the U.S. as well. And so
which means
that
eventually it's going to come our way.
It probably will. And I knew that. My friend Brian is visiting me. Shout out to my friend Brian. He's in town on business, and so I dropped him off at the GO station, which is just our commuter train, so he can take it right into downtown. And when I got back to my place, I'm like, why does the sun look weird? Why is there a smoke? Why does everything look so yellow and green? Like just this haze in the air. That's the sign of wildfires, folks. And it has been really hot, so not surprising. Matthew Ferreira sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Matthew. Says, sorry for the lack of visits on these streams. That's okay. Been busy. Might have said this before, but a take I've always liked is that people of Haddonfield don't exist to Michael. At best, they chew toys for him. They're chew toys for him to play and kill with. They don't exist. They don't exist to Michael? You mean that, like, metaphorically? Like, they actually... I think so, yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah, you're basically saying that he doesn't... Well, yeah, no, of course not, right? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's got no rhyme or reason to doing what he's doing. I agree. Brandon Barry says... thank you, Brandon. Says, I was thinking last night if they don't get you, Dave... that'd be amazing. Sean Hatosi from The Pit and Animal Kingdom would be a great Freddy. Never heard of the guy, but I'll have to look into him. Cool. Cody K. Old, 499, thank you, says, we should get back to scary, like genuinely terrifying. Could not agree more, Cody. Looking back at the 100%. Looking back at the Blumhouse trilogy, James Courtney was good, but he wasn't terrifying. But he was probably I think he was the best one since Castle and Warlock, personally. I think he was good. I think there were some genuinely terrifying moments with James Jude. I think there was. But I know what you mean. Matthew Farisi sends in $9.99 and says, I think a fun scene would be someone using cocaine to stay awake and they end up having a heart attack and dreams of Freddy killing them in an ambulance. Doesn't have to be comedic. It can be tragic. You know, that's pretty wild. But to go to those lengths, like you're so terrified and you're so scared that you're actually going to those lengths to stay alive. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. Rick the Unlovable. You're not unlovable, Rick. Sends in $1.99, says, imagine a kill that involves sleep paralysis. Yes. That's what I'm saying. There's so many different things that you could do. That would be crazy. Salsa DXE1155 $4.99 says, I'd rather it not be another horror comedy. I just want Freddy to be darker than ever and not like a lizard like in the last movie. A lizard? Oh, I see in the 2010 film their moment. I get it. Yeah. Listen, Tony and I agree with you 100%. We want this to be dark and scary. We want this to be a bona fide horror movie. You know, nothing. It doesn't mean you can't have a line or two, but yeah. And then
break out that fucking KY jelly.
That's it.
Get them all looped up.
Says, Tony, thoughts on the Crystal Lake trailer?
Dave and I are actually going to do a secondary video to that where we're going to talk about that. So can we circle back to that? Because it's a super chat and I don't want to not answer the question.
Sure. Well, our next show will be our final Indiegogo show,
and then without getting into details and avoiding the super chat because the person dropped money, I like what I see. That, and I'll leave it at that. And then, like I said, when Dave and I get a chance here to regroup, we're going to do a show strictly talking about that and kind of like our expectations of what we hope that we are going to see here very soon. We're getting closer.
We're getting closer. Comes out this October. Let me see. Let's go to the chat room, see what some people are saying. Yeah, Joseph says a lot of people want Jim Carrey to be Freddy. I think that's just ridiculous.
Why?
Because he's
how did people connect Jim Carrey to Freddy Krueger?
Because he's got a rubber face, and people just assume that that's what it would be. You know what I mean? Yeah, just absolutely crazy and ridiculous. Let me see. Joseph says, I'm happy that Freddy is getting another film. It's been a long time since we got a Nightmare film since 2010. So I'm glad we're getting a new Nightmare film. Great. Yeah. Robert says, man, fuck 2010. That was so fucking bad. SDV says, Dave. Oh, I already said that one. Nightmare 5 is a million times better than 2010. I wouldn't say a million times better than 2010. But maybe somewhat. Brandon says, I always felt it was heavily implied that he was a P because Marge calls him a filthy child murderer. 100%, Brandon. Well played. Yes, that's exactly the softening, subliminal stuff that we're talking about. He was a filthy child murderer. I mean, do you really have to add filthy in front of child murderer? I mean, isn't it self-explanatory that being a child murderer is filthy in and of itself? And so adding the word filthy, heavily implies that. Yeah, good call. The word filthy told us who he was. It's true.
Yeah, Patrick Wilson, I see that. Someone said that. I mean, he would be a good Freddy. I'm not saying that. But again, I don't know. Do you want to go down the road of Patrick? And he's got to be what? He's got to be pushing 50, right? So, like, what's the age that we're going with here with Freddy too, right? Like, are we talking about someone who's like Robert was what, in his 30s?
Robert was 37 when he started. He was my age in New Nightmare.
So do we want to? Is that maybe the bar that we're setting? Like, maybe do we want
35 to 45 or 35 to 50, like somewhere in there, not somebody who's 75 or 80 or 65 or 60, because you also want longevity with the potentiality of sequels.
Right. So if you've got a guy who's 35 and maybe you get 2 sequels out of him, okay, then you got him until he's at least in his mid 40s. And as long as he takes care of himself, then you've got yourself a pretty solid Freddy. Yeah,
that's right. I agree. Tim Robinson. Who is that? I know. Tim Robbins, I think is who he meant. Let me see here. Did I miss any super chats? I don't think I did. I think I got them all. Yes, I got them all. Oh, hang on. I just closed down my... I'm closing my whole windows down here. Hang on a sec. There we go. Let me see here. Josh McKenna, what's going on, Josh? Thank you. Says, but Dave, are you going to be the new Freddy? I don't know. There is a very, 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 very good chance I will not be. But
never know.
But my phone is on. My door is open. If they ever wanted to talk, that would be amazing. But no, they will likely hire somebody else. Let me see here. Dave needs to start a metal band. Maybe Devon Sawa would be my pick for Freddy. Again, not that he wouldn't necessarily do a good job, but I think it should be somebody that nobody knows. Nobody knows the name. You know who the next Freddy should be? Stephen Willwright. Who's that? Exactly. It's nobody. I just made up the name.
There you go.
That should be the next Freddy. Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Brandon says, Chris Stanley recommended you yesterday in the video. Oh, no, did he? Oh, I love Chris. He's amazing. He's amazing. Awesome dude. Awesome dude. Oh, I'll have to check his video. I saw his thumbnail, but I haven't had a chance to watch it. But yeah, no, listen, I mean, if it ever came to be that I was in a conversation for it, I mean, that'd be amazing. I would totally, have that conversation. That'd be awesome. But the probability is low just because of the mounds of competition. Again, Michael Shannon, too well known.
And older too. Like I said,
older
and tall, right? Like, how tall do we want Freddy to be? Do we want him to be more like Robert's height, between 5'10" and 6 foot, somewhere in that? You know what I mean? We don't want a tall Freddy, because what made Freddy scary. Same reason why what made Michael scary in the first film was that Michael wasn't a big, broody guy. So the fact that he could pick someone up with one hand, that's fucking terrifying in itself. Same thing with Freddy. Freddy was not a big guy like Jason or Leatherface. So that's the other thing you want to make sure of. Michael Shannon is a tall dude. Like, I mean, he's a tall guy. So that's something you got to keep in mind, is that, I mentioned this earlier about the physicality. It's not so much just doing the voice and the gloves. There's the physical, there's the body movement of the character. So like, how tall do we want? Do we want him kind of more on the lean side like Robert was in the first film?
Right. Exactly. No, it's a great question. I think just exactly like that. I don't think he's not hulking. He's not 6'2", 280. He's just a regular guy. He's a regular guy. Yeah. 5'10", 160 pounds, 170 pounds, like whatever. He's just a regular dude. Felix Stan 90210 sends in a generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you. And says, I read an article suggesting Freddy shouldn't necessarily be character, but the nightmare themselves kill you. I see what you're saying. Robert said that in a reboot, Freddy's form should look different and unique to each kid that has a nightmare. I see what you're saying. So he takes on a different form depending on the fears of
That's interesting.
the child. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I think there should always be a base, because Freddy's just too the look of Freddy's too iconic. It's like Jason's mask, right? You know what I mean?
Or Michael's mask, right?
Right. And so I think that's something you can play with within the movie, but I always think, but you have to see Freddy. There has to be and you always get that sort of anyway. Like as the movies went on, sometimes the dream sequences, you didn't even see Freddy. You saw demon dogs or a weird looking creature or, something else, you know what I mean? Or, a crazy nurse with a long tongue. I mean, Freddy was he played a lot in the dreams, but that's interesting. Yeah. Rob Dean, one of our great members, sends in a member chat and says, what direction would you guys like to see film the movie based on their style? What direction would you guys like to see film the movie based on their style? You mean like, well, I think I know what you mean. Tony talked about sort of a blend of It Follows and The Black Phone 2. Using Black Phone 2's dream sequences.
So you're talking about like aesthetically, what do we,
I think
what would we like?
Yeah, I think that's what Rob means.
Yeah, I would take, if I'm Paramount, right, and if I'm the guys there trying to storyboard this idea, if you're setting it in modern times, just pull the page right out of the playbook of It Follows. It was clearly set in modern times, but they did a nice hybrid blend to make you as the viewer almost feel like it's a dream. Like, are they in a dream or is this real? And because of the blending of vintage vehicles, vintage television with modern things, like I was noticing little things like there was a modern refrigerator in there. The girl had what looked like to be like a birth control thing, but it was actually something she was reading out of. And you can just faintly see the Wi-Fi bars. So obviously Wi-Fi is around, you know what I mean? So like, but you didn't see them like doing this.
Right.
You didn't see them on their phones. So like you said earlier in the stream, you can set it today, but just have the modern technology, have the modern cars. They're just there, like, but they're not really present. They're not in the foreground. It's not distracting to the movie. It's not like Scream where you need the phone. You essentially don't need the phone. Unless you're trying to text somebody, you know what I mean? Like, okay, but Do you need a scene of someone texting someone? Like, you didn't see it in It Follows, and that came out in 2011, and texting was around, and smartphones were around in 2011.
Right.
Or was it 2012?
No, smartphones came to be in 2007.
No, It Follows.
The first iPhone. Oh, It Follows with 2014.
14. I keep saying 2011. 2014. So yeah, we were well into smartphones, well into, you know, social media and all that stuff at that time. And you didn't see a single kid. I'm sure they had them.
Yeah.
You know, but you didn't see the kids using them. So, and I liked that approach. And the same thing that also makes that movie so well is the sound design and music that Disaster Piece did. They really got back to the basics of a good scary movie, whether you liked it or not. I know a lot of people who didn't like It Follows, but they really liked the score. You know what I mean? Like, they love what Disaster Piece did. So that's what I was saying earlier with A Nightmare on Elm Street. If you listen to that and I just listened to it the other day to get some ideas. And when you listen to what Charles Bernstein did from start to finish, there are so many, and like, especially I was listening to it with headphones on, there's so many little different things that you don't usually pick up in the movie that you're like, oh man, like, we don't get that anymore with a lot of films. We get some, you know, like an It Follows, you know, does very well, but a lot of films don't really rely on that score and that signature sound. And I think that this movie 100% needs that element, because that's what made the first movie so great. That's what makes Halloween so great. Could you imagine going through an entire film and not hearing the iconic score, H2O?
That's true. It's true. Yeah, yeah, I know, H2O. Rob clarified.
Well, I'm sorry. They played it in the beginning with the symphony for about 10 seconds.
Well, and they played some Scream music too. Rob clarified and said, what director would you guys like to see based on their style? Don't.
Go with an unknown. Go with an up-and-comer.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
give someone a shot, you know, like, I mean, I think it comes down to what's pitched, right? Yeah. You know, what's the idea that this person is pitching? You know, I would love it if the studios nabbed me and Dave and said, hey, this is our idea. Not that it's going to happen, but you need someone who's thinking outside the box. And it's like, and it just ultimately depends on what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
You don't, when Dave read that earlier, you can take that two ways. This is either going to be a reimagining of the first film, but set in modern times,
right?
New characters, or it's going to be a direct sequel to the first film because they have the rights to that world and that story exists. And this is picking up 40. They're going to do a Halloween 2018, right?
That's right.
You know, so it just really depends on what the studio what they want, and then you sit down with someone who's going to pitch the best idea. Really?
Yeah, I'm not somebody like I don't want to get caught in this situation where, like in sports, and I'll just speak about the NHL for a moment because I know hockey better than I know baseball, football, and basketball. But in the NHL, you know, when coaches get fired, there's like this circle of like 5 or 6 like top coaches that just end up. So like, you know, Bob will get fired from, you know, this team and then he gets hired over here. And then the coach that was fired on that team gets hired by Bob's old team. And it just seems like there's just recycling of the same people all the time. And I'm always like, can we bring somebody else in maybe who's, you know.
And the NFL is that way too. The NFL is exactly like that.
I get it's a steady hand. It's a steady ship. It's a proven track record, championships, all that kind of stuff. I get that stuff matters, and I get pedigree matters, and I get prior experience matters, and prior success matters. Of course, 100%. Of course, 100%. You're not going to give a complete known who's never made a feature film in his life or something. It's not going to happen. But I don't want to. I try not to get caught up in this. Yeah, well, it's given to Mike Flanagan. It's like it just seems like everything's given to Mike. Mike Flanagan, Robert Eggers. The problem is that they become buzzwords, and so when you don't dive deeper into the more, there's a lot of directors out there making horror movies, folks. It's not just Robert Eggers, Mike Flanagan, and James Wan. I mean, there's a lot of Zach Eggers or you know whatever the case. There's a lot of there's a lot of people out there, folks, but because they create successful movies, they're top of mind, and a lot of fans tend to just kind of default to the, what about him? What about him? It's like the same 4 people that just get recycled. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, any one of those guys probably would, be fine. But I'm curious on, where's another, somebody else, like I'm curious to do a bit of digging, a bit of diving, a bit of independent film. A bit of independent film watching, and just kind of,
when you think of Wes Craven and when he did that prior to Nightmare, he had done Last House on the Left, which would be, I guess, his acclaimed film, but he also did a lot of snuff, right?
He did. Well, before. Yeah.
So, I mean, he, aside from Last House on the Left, and that's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, he didn't really have a lot of credit to his name, you know what I mean? So I think when you're looking for a director, there's just something, clearly New Line and Bob Shea and all those people back then, they saw something with Craven, and took the chance. And,
well, they were desperate because their studio was going under.
Well, I was about to say, the house that Freddy built essentially is what, became New Line Cinema. And whatnot. So they all took a chance and but it paid off. It gambled. It did. And sometimes, that's life. You take chances and, sometimes it works and sometimes you got to go back to the drawing board and, circle back and figure out a new game plan. So you may just, need to, I will say the weird thing though, is not seeing the New Line Cinema before this movie comes out.
Well, yeah,
that's gonna be a little weird because you're so used to seeing it.
At the moment, Paramount has the rights, the U.S. rights, which means domestic rights. It means here in Canada too, and so we'll see what happens. Obviously, New Line still has rights overseas. We'll see what happens. Again, it's very early development, right? It's very early. It's not pre-production yet. I still see some people saying that it's in pre-production. It's not in pre-production. It's not. Stop it. It's in development. The announcement was, hey, we're going to make a movie. There's no director attached. There's no cast attached. There's no story.
No script.
There's no script. It's just like, hey, we
can't make a movie without a script. Well,
it's true. It's
unless you're the Halloween 5 director.
That's true. You just make it up as you go along. But it's basically was, hey, we finally sorted all this out. Now we have the opportunity to actually move ahead. And so that's what it was. But you may still not get a movie for another 3 or 4 years. Who the hell? I believe you'll probably get it before then. But there's no timeline. I mean, it's not like it's coming in 2029 or 2028 or next year. It could.
I was going to say the possibility of it coming next year is very slim, but the possibility of it coming in 2028, it's probable.
That's probable. Cody sends in 499, says, would you guys like to see Derek Mears back as Jason? And if you had to rank the top 5 scariest horror villains, what would your list be? Derek Mears, I thought, was a great Jason. Seeing him back, sure, I guess. Sure, why not? I don't think I had no issues with him in the 2009 remake.
If we're talking about the Crystal Lake series, I need to see the Crystal Lake series first to kind of get a feel for
that's true.
What kind of Jason do we want, right? Because that's really the tone of that series is going to let me know, like, do we want Sack, right? Do we want this, and then ultimately the payoff being the hockey mask. I'm not saying don't give us the hockey mask,
right?
But maybe let the Sack breathe a little bit
bring the sack back.
Bring the sack back for maybe, a few episodes before you don the iconic hockey mask.
That's it.
So again, it just depends on the tonality because I'm trying not to talk about Crystal Lake because we're literally going to do this in
yes, I understand.
So it just depends. And now what was the other part?
And the other part was if you had to rank the top 5 scariest horror villains, what would your list be? I don't know.
Horror villains or just villains?
Horror villains. Top 5 scariest horror villains.
Top villain for me forever will be the Joker. Like that's my number 1.
I don't know. I mean, Michael, Jason, Freddy. I don't know. I don't think about these things whenever and I say this with all due respect. I get asked these types of questions all the time on the spot, and I never think of these questions.
Well, I mean, for me, there's really
I don't really know. I'm not really sure.
I wouldn't put
it's a good question, but I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean, yeah, if he gave me the broad, you know, I would say the Joker is my all-time favorite villain, you know, and whatnot. But like, if we're talking strictly horror, I mean, there's really only, you know, Michael, Freddy, Jason, Ghostface, Leatherface. I mean, that's it. That covers the 5. I mean, you could substitute Chucky in there if you're a Child's Play fan with, you know, and whatever. But yeah, I mean, those would be, I wouldn't say like what order, because they all bring their own individual thing. So.
Right. Gotcha. I like this one. Dave, if you were given the choice to direct or play as Freddy for this movie, what would you choose? Or perhaps do both? If I had a choice, it was either to play Freddy or to direct it, I would probably direct it.
Yeah, because in Dave we trust, because it's like when you're an actor, you're hired to do a job. Jackie Earle Haley, like we said earlier, he's a great actor, but he's hired to do a job. If you're putting Dave or somebody like, you know, who has the knowledge, who understands, who really understands, you know, what most people probably want, you're going to get someone who's going to massage it out, you know, and really make sure that, one, there's not too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, I can imagine you telling people, no, this is fucking stupid, we're not going to do that. You know what I mean?
Well, it depends on my seniority. I might not have a choice.
That's true, because there is that.
I mean, who the hell am I? You know, right? So I might not have a choice. But no, I just think creatively, to have the opportunity to build a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie and to direct it and craft it and work with the DP and work with the actors and work with the script and the story and work with the new Freddy, and it would just be it'd be amazing. I mean, I certainly wouldn't turn Freddy down either. I mean, that would be cool too. But if I had the choice, I'd choose directing it. Yeah, for sure. That's what I would do. What's the time? Oh, that's we're coming up. We're basically at our time. Amazing. Well, this has been a good show. I think this was a good show. Yeah, no, it was a fun show. Folks, listen. That is going to do it for this episode of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. I want to thank our moderators, of course, for doing what you guys do. Thank you to the Super Chat questions that came in today, the non-Super Chat questions, the member questions as well. You guys are amazing. Thank you for tuning in. Really, really, really appreciate it. If you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let Tony and I know your thoughts on this news that Freddy Krueger is coming back. There is a new Nightmare on Elm Street in development over at Paramount Pictures. Jump into the comment section and let us know your thoughts on how you feel about it and anything we had to say here today about that. We would really like to know. A quick super chat, did come in, says, if you look at it and remember the actors are playing kids, Freddy S.'d a lot of children in the movies. It was right on screen. Yeah, no, if you look at it from a certain angle, it's kind of true. Tony, any last things you'd like to say? I think you're frozen again, but any last things you'd like to say?
Hold on. I'll
It looks like you're deep in pensive sort of, you're being modest. Yeah,
I am. I'm deep thinking right now. Yeah. I do have something new and fun, exciting coming soon. It is a horror movie channel. It's not movie reviews, but
you froze again.
It's pretty cool as I freeze up here.
This is amazing.
Damn it. Bull crap, freaking internet connection. But yeah, so I'm kind of testing it out. I've given only a few people the link. I kind of want to test out the waters. So if you're following me on Instagram, shoot me a DM. You can get there right now through my current YouTube channel. There's a link there. Shoot me a DM. I kind of want to test it out with you all. I want to feel it and see if this is something I want to maybe do more of. So shoot me a DM and I'll send you the link, and fingers crossed, maybe it's something that I keep doing.
I'm very excited to learn more about this. Frank Riker, Frank the Tank, Frank the Man sends in a member chat for all the sexy MFers in the chat. 100%. Folks, you are amazing. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Tony and I will see you again very soon. Yeah, that's right. Remember, jump into the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on the new Elm Street film in the works. We'd love to know. All right, folks, talk to you soon. Cheers.